Hi, and welcome to the session of Create Good. This afternoon, we have Candace Cody from CauseVox, and I just wanted to really thank CauseVox for being an amazing sponsor for Create Good 2020 this year. We're very thankful to have you as our second year sponsor, so it's very exciting. Thank you so much. So Candace is going to be talking about proven, she's going to be speaking about proven peer-to-peer fundraising tactics. Go ahead and take it away, Candace.
Thank you so much, Dawn. I'm so happy to be here. I'm going to dive right in. We have so many great insights to cover today. So welcome to 10 proven peer-to-peer fundraising tactics learned from 6,000 plus campaigns raising millions. Like Dawn said, today's presentation is presented by CauseVox. CauseVox is a digital fundraising platform that helps you raise more with less effort. So while a lot of software out there is very clunky, complex, and contract bound, CauseVox helps you tidy up your digital fundraising so you can run smart donation pages right on your website to replace any outdated forms, crowdfunding, super easily spin up crowdfunding campaigns to help you raise more with less uncertainty, and also, of course, peer-to-peer fundraising so that you can help get more new donors with less wasted effort on the admin side. So my name is Candace. I'm the Manager of Success and Education here at CauseVox. So every day for the last 5 years, I spend my time talking with organizations about how to grow their digital fundraising. And much of this is focused on peer-to-peer fundraising. So I personally have helped hundreds of organizations get them ready to launch their peer-to-peer fundraising. So I have a lot of day-to-day insight to draw from for today's session. So before I talk about peer-to-peer fundraising, I think it's really important to set the stage and talk about digital fundraising in general. So we have a methodology that we like to encourage our peer-to-peer fundraisers to really adopt. And that comes with just starting to look at some of the trends with digital fundraising. So over the last 2 years, there's been a 24% growth in online donations. So this is something that is really growing rapidly in the nonprofit sector, and we want to bring fundraising into 2020. Also in 2018, mobile giving increased by 205%. So that really shows an increasing how much mobile is really increasing as a primary feature for digital fundraising that you should be focused on. So all of these stats really talk about how digital fundraising isn't just the future of fundraising, it is the present of fundraising. So especially now more than ever, it's really, really important to have a good foundation and plan to ramp up your digital fundraising at your organization, especially now that we're all kind of at home and need to raise funds online. Something we noticed here at CauseVox is that a lot of organizations are kind of stuck in like the event-based, twice a year big fundraising event kind of strategy, where with digital fundraising, it's more of an ongoing process that you want to adapt at your organization to help you continually attract, nurture, and convert donors. Not to say that you can't do those events, but having a system in place so that you're bringing in funds online year round is really, really important to the growth of fundraising at your organization. And so part of this is having that repeatable process in place. So you want to do things that can help you cast a wide net online. So focusing on maybe some social media strategy, considering social media ads, having an SEO, search engine optimized focus strategy to help you get more hits on your website. That can come with content marketing like blog posts. The next step would be, once those people are in your network, they signed up to, receive your newsletter, or they made some indication on social media that they're interested in your organization, you want to continually nurture them through your email marketing, really engaging content across your social platforms, and potentially, you know, investing some time in calling people, letting them know more about your organization, and just, you know, giving them the next step to get more engaged. And so once they're at a point where you've nurtured these contacts and you've really engaged them, then you're ready to ask for that donation. And so what is great about this is that this is a repeatable process. So once someone makes a donation, it kind of goes back to the beginning where you want to continually nurture those donors so that you retain them and potentially get them to become peer-to-peer fundraisers for your organization. So it's kind of bringing them continually back to your organization, getting them more and more involved. And so that's how we've seen a lot of organizations really grow their digital fundraising, is by really entering into a journey with your donors. So it's not just a one-time gift and then they leave on their merry way, but it's really building a relationship with your donors and your fundraisers so that you're investing in that relationship and giving them the opportunity to also invest back in your organization. And that comes with peer-to-peer fundraising as one of those really great opportunities for the audience and donors more involved. So especially now more than ever, it's never been a better time for peer-to-peer fundraising because inherently it's done online. So a lot of people are at home. A lot of people want to have an impact and don't know how. And so peer-to-peer is a great way to allow them to leverage their networks on behalf of your organization. And part of it is that it's an alternative ask. So there may be some members in your community that aren't really able to give right now, whether they're out of work or just have other financial things pressing on them. But something that you can ask those who can't give right now is to ask them to fundraise. So it's a great opportunity for those that want to be involved but kind of can't give. It's a great ask. So also, peer-to-peer fundraising is a primary driver of new donor acquisition, especially at a time where it might be a little difficult to get new donors coming in, depending on your organization. But peer-to-peer fundraising expands your networks exponentially so that, you know, people that wouldn't have been exposed to your organization before are now being exposed through their friends and family members with their peer-to-peer fundraising page. And all of this is really about relationships. So asking your peer-to-peer fundraisers, asking someone to fundraise for you is about your relationship with that donor or that supporter. And it's also leveraging their relationships with their family and friends and networks as well. And so that's what makes it really effective, especially at a time like this. And so I want to show you, there's a lot of events being canceled right now. So one great opportunity is to just bring that event online with peer-to-peer. Summit Assistance Dogs, they do their luncheon. Unfortunately, that was canceled, but they really quickly spun up a really amazing peer-to-peer campaign that engaged their audience to become virtual table captains. And so each individual, basically in lieu of what would have been raised during the luncheon by filling a table, they were just asked to raise funds and fill that virtual table for the organization, and it really took off really well with their community. So that's just one thing that if you had something like that, needs to be replaced. Peer-to-peer is a really amazing way to do it. So without further ado, I'm going to dive into our 10 proven peer-to-peer fundraising tactics. So there's a lot of individuals who have a personal story to tell. So this is Corinne's page. So her son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 18 months, and her family had a lot of learning to do. So they really turned to the autism community in action, to their support groups and knowledge base and resources, and they gained so much from these that in honor of her son Patrick, every year they do this family and friends campaign, and every year she comes back and knocks her fundraising goal out of the park, because she felt like her life was so enhanced by this organization and what they've done in her life. So she has that personal story to share and her own connection with the cause. Similarly, there's David. He's a board member for GLAAD, and he's a huge advocate. So David really uses his networks to share why advocacy is so important to him, and in turn brings in more donors to their organization. And Brandon, he was having his bar mitzvah, and in lieu of receiving gifts, he actually opted to push people to donate to Innovation Africa to help students in Uganda. And he had a really passionate story about why he wanted to be part of that mission. So he shared this with his community and blew his fundraising goal out of the park as well, raising over $24,000 for Innovation Africa. So all three of these fundraisers, while very different circumstances, different kinds of campaigns, all three organizations did something in common to make that happen. So we looked at these and many more of the top peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns on our platform and came up with these 10 best practices that you can implement that will help you succeed with peer-to-peer fundraising. So we've had about 6,500 peer-to-peer campaigns on our platform, with over 116,000 personal pages created. So we have a wealth of information that we're drawing from, and I have a lot of experience up front with many of these organizations doing these peer-to-peer campaigns. And so overall, from all of our research, everything that we've seen that organizations that use peer-to-peer fundraising raise about twice as much as opposed to other digital fundraising campaigns like peer-to-peer, like crowdfunding, my bad. So that's a really powerful statistic. But when you think about it, it's because your peer-to-peer fundraisers are reaching out to people that you wouldn't have reached otherwise. So they're expanding your networks twice as much than you currently have. And so it's a huge donor acquisition tool. I've had organizations that come back and said that with a peer-to-peer campaign, their first peer-to-peer campaign, they had 97% of their donors were new donors. That's not every campaign, but it really is a primary driver of new donor acquisition in a way that you probably may not have seen before at your organization. So some misconceptions about peer-to-peer is that it has to be like a run, walk, or race. But there are so many different kinds of campaigns that you can do. You can incorporate it into Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday Now is coming up. Capital campaigns, program-specific campaigns. You can run long-term DIY fundraising campaigns like Rhiannon did with his birthday campaign. So, have that up and going all the time. Keep directing people to fundraise year-round on their terms. And so there's so many different kinds of peer-to-peer opportunities that you have, even with your current fundraising plan in place, that you can just incorporate peer-to-peer into. So with so many different kinds of campaigns, there's also so many different sizes of organizations, so many different types of organizations, from more chapter-based organizations to smaller organizations doing a walk. So really, whatever kind of organization or whatever kind of audience that you have, there is a way for you to incorporate peer-to-peer into it. So we kind of noticed that there's three main ideas that help peer-to-peer fundraisers succeed and help you activate more peer-to-peer fundraisers. And so the first stage is really more on the messaging side. So that's focusing on your messaging so that it's inspiring your donors and your fundraisers to give and participate in peer-to-peer fundraising. The next is activating those who are already in your community, how you can do that, instead of just kind of trying to convince people to do it. But there's already people in your community that have their own personal story, like Corinne did for her son Patrick, that are already ready to share it. You just have to find them and activate them. And we'll go through some ways that you can do that for your organization. And so a lot of this ties into that nurturing phase of the digital fundraising cycle. And then once you've activated those fundraisers, there's some best practices to help them raise more, because a successful fundraiser is probably going to be someone that comes back again and continues to be an advocate and fundraise for your organization. So one of the things that I hear sometimes in my calls is that some organizations are a little worried about giving the control over to their peer-to-peer fundraisers to just run with it. You're concerned about your branding, you're concerned about your messaging, but there's a lot that you can do to actually empower your fundraisers to share their own story and get the word out there. And a lot of fundraisers that are given the opportunity to really share their own personal connection with your cause do really well. So we'll go into some tactics that help you coach your fundraisers to help them succeed. So we'll talk a little bit about inspiring fundraisers. So the founder of Save the Children said this: "We have to devise means of making known the facts in such a way as to touch the imagination of the world. The world is not ungenerous, but unimaginative and very busy." So I think that speaks to, I think that's still really, really relevant today, where there's so much going on at the moment. We kind of have to inspire them and show them how they can be part of the solution. So part of that is helping them grasp onto really what the story of your peer-to-peer campaign is, and empowering them to share their own stories as well. Nick Hudson from Stupid Cancer said it like this: "The best and most effective promotional tactics we use are posts that involve patient stories that come from the patients themselves. They're telling their story in their own words with quotes directly from them. Then we can say, here's how our organization can help them." So I think this is really about empowering and sourcing stories from those in your community and the beneficiaries. So Stupid Cancer, for example, this is just one of their really powerful posts, but one of the members in their community shared this really powerful video of her dad shaving her head ahead of her going into chemo again. And she just shared a really beautiful moment and talks a little bit about the community that she's had with Stupid Cancer. And then Stupid Cancer just reposted that. And then also put in a little call to action at the end to drive people to give and participate and help people like Corinne. So that's only one example, but I think that's a really powerful opportunity for you to share stories that are already being shared online or being shared in your different communities, and potentially even sourcing stories. So maybe you want to reach out to your board members, ask them what their personal story is about why they support your organization, and just putting that out there so people have the opportunity to share their own stories, and using that throughout your messaging. Because at the end of the day, people give to people. People want to help Corinna, so they give to Stupid Cancer. So I think that's really important when you're crafting your appeals and your messaging for your campaign, and talking about marketing, emails, social media. At the end of the day, it's getting those stories out there that will really emotionally move your community to get involved and donate or become a peer-to-peer fundraiser. So Stupid Cancer does their CancerCon fundraising with us, so helping members of their community attend their conference every year. So with some of the things that we've learned from looking at Stupid Cancer's really powerful content is that a lot of it is multimedia. So there's videos, there's, of course, people writing their own personal stories on their personal fundraising pages, and just looking at different opportunities to share across multiple platforms. So, and they're typically focused on just the story of one person, because it's really hard to identify as with a group of people. But when you share an individual story, it's much more likely that your donor or a fundraiser will read that and get inspired themselves, because they feel that personal connection to the person whose story is being shared. So when you're talking about your own peer-to-peer storytelling, you want to, design your stories to be shared and make sure that you're using a platform that helps you do that. So with your peer-to-peer fundraising campaign, make sure that it integrates and is easily shareable on a bunch of different social media. You kind of don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because you can do Facebook fundraisers, but the more platforms and the more ways that you can distribute that story, the more powerful it can be, the more opportunities that you have to inspire more people. Another best practice is to source stories from your community. So this could come from asking people to share their story on social media, use a hashtag, and then pull from all those different platforms and different stories and share that. It could also come from just a simple email that goes out asking people that have given to you before about why they gave, and asking them to share their stories. One of the best things that you can do when you are crafting your appeal is to use direct quotes from whoever the central focus of your story is. So when you are crafting your appeal, you probably want to focus on one person so that people can identify with them, and try and share a quote with them. It kind of takes your organization out of the equation and lets them hear in their own words what the impact of your organization has been, and how they relate to your organization as well. So, and then doing this across as many mediums as possible. All right, so number 2, still on talking about how you message your campaign. So Volvo City Kids Foundation, they came to us about 3 years ago and started this campaign, So Every Child Can Play. It took off. They've now run this campaign every year, and it's grown from this little $10,000 campaign to this raising over $80,000 at the end of the year in just 3 years. So it's really powerful, and I think a lot of that comes from how they position their appeal on their page as well as their asks, because they're asking you to buy into their mission and not just buy into their organization, what they're doing. So they have a campaign that sparks this emotional response, because everyone can agree that you want every child to play. So they kind of get you invested in their mission and then talk about what their organization is doing. So I think that's really important nuance in your messaging, is to focus on your mission in all of your content. So you want to highlight the cause, highlight the mission of the organization, and then at the same time, one of the things that is most effective with engaging your fundraisers is making your fundraiser the hero of your mission, because they're fundraising for you, they're doing the work, and you can kind of give them all the credit. So instead of asking people like, hey, our organization is doing this, XYZ, you can say, you can make an impact, you can help every child play. And that just, that changes the perspective from being organization-centric to being fundraiser-centric, and making them the real hero of your mission and helping them champion that within their communities. All right, third messaging tactic for peer-to-peer fundraising is to showcase impact as much as possible. So 68% of donors agree that knowing how their donation makes an impact is important to making their gift. This only increases with fundraisers because they're investing and asking their friends and family on behalf of your organization. So communicating impact to them is really, really important. Jason Sissel, the founder of Endure to Cure Pediatric Cancer Foundation, put it this way. He said, share exactly who benefited from each person's fundraising and how. When we can, we take this to the next level by sharing the story of exactly what child and family is going to benefit from the fundraising and what assistance they will receive. So this they do sometimes even before they start fundraising, and this just makes their fundraising ask even easier. So this is really important because, again, you're sort of putting the impact first that your fundraiser can make with your organization. So when you're trying to communicate impact to both your peer-to-peer fundraisers and your donors, one of my tips is to try and break down who's going to be benefiting from this campaign, what you're providing them, when this is happening, where it's happening. Just give them the details so that they know, they can picture really who is benefiting. It's great if you can do this with pictures and video as well. And then when you're trying to communicate impact, the best way to do it is to break it down into these 4 areas as much as you can. Some organizations can't break down everything. It's not a science. But one of the ways that you can do it is to think about how many people are benefiting, how many items are being provided, how much time or services are being provided. So, you know, organizations that donate like maybe an hour of after school playtime, how many hours have been provided to that fundraiser? How many hours is your fundraiser helping sponsor? And then considering donor and fundraiser recognition through different levels. So you might want to say for fundraisers that raise $1,000, they're an advocate, but if they raise $2,500, they're an activist, and just assigning those different titles and different kinds of recognition you're giving them. And same thing for the donors. So I think this really applies well when you're talking about creating different giving levels that really resonate with donors and inspire them to give more. So this is from Skid Row Housing Trust. They have a campaign up and running right now, and for their different giving levels, they showed each person what kind of materials and what kind of gifts they can make an impact with. So $75 provides 75 thermometers. $150 provides 150 residents with antibacterial soap. So this makes it really clear in the donor's mind what they're accomplishing with their gift, and it's really important to incorporate that for both donors and fundraisers. So let's talk a little bit about activating your fundraisers for your campaign. So one of the top tactics I recommend to all of our users is to start before you start. Kind of do a soft launch of your peer-to-peer campaign. So Jake Vermillion puts it like this: think of your peer-to-peer campaign the same way you would the launch of a capital campaign. You wouldn't release the campaign to the public to raise $20 million for your new building with no money in the bank and no backers. So why take that approach with peer-to-peer? So for you, you'll want to think about how to activate your peer-to-peer fundraisers a little bit ahead of time. One of the things that can make it easier for you to get peer-to-peer fundraisers to sign on is to already have some peer-to-peer fundraisers in there by the time that you ask. So if their pages are set up already, there are already pages set up already, they're more likely to sign up because that's social proof. People do things that other people do. So asking your board members to set up their pages first can be a great way to sort of seed the peer-to-peer fundraising side of things of your campaign. And then you want to go ahead and ask your other fundraisers to set up their pages. So that would be maybe like returning donors and other members of your community that you're trying to activate. And so also before launching your campaign to the wider audience, that, you know, I'm sure you're going to be asking for donations as well. Give your fundraisers the heads up, so that they can set up their pages ahead of time before you officially launch your campaign to your audience. Give them a week or two so that they can get their pages set up and that they're on the same page as you when you're ready to promote the campaign. So if your campaign's launching on the 1st, you want to get them set up by the 23rd, and so that they're ready to also promote their pages on the same day that you officially launch your campaign. Have, you know, some donors contribute ahead of that launch as well, and ask your fundraisers to maybe make the first donation to their page to kick it off, even if it's a small donation. All right, so some organizations don't know where to start when it comes to peer-to-peer. It's really hard to activate someone that's not already invested in your mission. So you want to segment your audience so that you're asking the right people to become fundraisers for your organization. So not everyone makes a great fundraiser, but there are a lot of people in your community that are primed to do it. And if you're just starting with peer-to-peer, one of the things that you can do is simply start with board members. Even a small group of board members or a small group of supporters can make a huge impact. N10 fundraises with us every year to help provide scholarships to NTC. They just get their 10 members of their board to sign up and fundraise, and they have a really powerful impact, even with a small group of people. So I would say even if you don't have a wide network of community to draw from, starting with board members is a great way to do it. And so when you're asking your community to sign up and fundraise, these are some good people to sort of tap. So of course, board members, you might want to think about asking your staff, volunteers, they're already investing time. So they would be very likely to invest in this way too and fundraise on your behalf. And then asking partners. This is one that goes overlooked sometimes. Partners are really great because you can have them, you know, underneath your campaign, set up a team page for one of your corporate partners and let them participate in peer-to-peer, sign up for their own pages underneath that. It goes really well. Returning donors are great people to tap. So, you know, they're invested in your mission multiple times. It's likely that asking them to be a peer-to-peer fundraiser is a really good next step for them. Alumni of your program, so kind of like Corinne from earlier, she went through their support groups, got a lot of support, and was really excited to raise funds on behalf of the organization. And I guess I just wanted to note, you don't have to just do all of this in one campaign. I've seen a lot of organizations segment this out into different campaigns. So maybe you just run one board member campaign, and then for a specific program, you activate the alumni in another peer-to-peer campaign. I don't think that you have to necessarily only do one campaign at a time by any means. So you can, you know, continually just target different groups and, you know, segment out those peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns. So one of the best things that you can do to help your fundraiser succeed is choose the right technology to help you run your peer-to-peer fundraising with less effort. So 65% of all web traffic is mobile and growing every year. And 54% of consumers have used a mobile wallet to make a payment. So this really, again, speaks to the trend towards mobile and towards the ease of use that a lot of today's donors are expecting and today's fundraisers are expecting as well. So Nancy from the Girl Scouts of Northern Illinois said this. She said, the biggest thing is ease. Ease for your fundraisers and ease for their donors. If it's hard for your donors to make a donation, they're just going to forget it, leave the page, and move on. CauseVox makes it so simple for donors and for fundraisers. I've never had a fundraiser need help setting up a page. It's that straightforward. So whether you use CauseVox or whether you use another peer-to-peer tool, I would just say try and find the thing that is the easiest thing for your fundraisers and for your donors, because when it's easy for your fundraisers to set up their own page, they're more likely to do it. And, you know, donors, same thing goes for donors. If you make the donation process really, really super simple, they're more likely to complete their donation. So you'll see more donations coming in and more fundraisers creating their pages. They'll be happy, you'll be happy. And another thing is that if you do pick a platform that, on the contrary, that's a little difficult, even if it's easy for them to set up their pages, but maybe it's difficult to make a donation, they're going to get a little frustrated, because they're going to come back and be like, hey, like, I'm asking all these people to make a donation and they're all having trouble. So you want to make it as streamlined as possible the whole way down. And part of that is making sure that it's all mobile optimized, and, you know, you want your peer-to-peer to be where the people are. So people are on their phones, make it really easy for them to sign up and fundraise right from there. So when picking a peer-to-peer platform, you want to make sure that it's mobile optimized, really easy for them to set up. On your end, make it easy to brand, so that you have that control over what the fundraising pages look like. And also to pre-fill some info for fundraisers. So this is just like a best practice that we have on our platform, is just to be able to pre-fill in a logo for their profile photo in case they don't have a photo, pre-fill in some content that can go on their page so that they're not starting from scratch when they go to tell their own story, and makes it really easy for them to set up their pages as well. And then, of course, make it easy to donate, so you're making donors happy and fundraisers happy. All right, so now when it comes to, you have your fundraisers, they're ready to go. How do you equip them to be successful? So the first tactic for this is to really keep it personal. Have a personalized approach. So with Innovation Africa, they do that DIY peer-to-peer campaign that we saw earlier that Rhiannon raised funds for. And so over the course of the last 5 years, 6 years now, they've activated over 250 members of their community to fundraise for them. And what I really like about what they do is that they have a really personalized approach to it. They feature Fundraise as the second CTA on their website. They have a donate button and a fundraising button right next to each other. So they call a lot of their community to participate, and they make it really easy as well as really personalized for them, where each person can, you know, set their own event up, or, you know, in Rhiannon's case, birthday celebration page. So Jake Vermillion said it like this, Jake Vermillion said it like this. So from helping them to see the impact of the work they're helping to support, to making them feel supported and encouraged, to equipping them to become an effective fundraiser, nothing yielded better results than assigning liaisons, if you will, to each fundraiser who elects to support our cause. While technology can help reinforce a personalized approach, it can't replace it. So this again sort of ties into that nurturing component that you're going to want to take when it comes to having these one-on-one conversations with peer-to-peer fundraisers. So a best practice to have that personal touch is to recruit fundraisers one-on-one. Maybe you want to send out an initial email asking people to sign up and see who does, but then maybe reach out individually to maybe those that haven't responded, because you're probably going to get a better response if you reach out individually. It makes them feel seen, and it makes them feel like you're invested in them as fundraisers as well. Kind of like how Jake mentioned, having one person be the point person for all fundraisers just streamlines communication. It helps your fundraisers build a little bit of a relationship and rapport with whoever is running that at your organization, and lets them know in case they do run into any issues or they have more questions, who they can reach out to for support. It lets them know that this person is in their corner. And then the last step is to give fundraisers the opportunity to make it their own. Maybe you're not doing a DIY birthday campaign where, that's all on the fundraiser's time and they completely personalize that around their own birthday or event. But like Volvo City did with their So Every Child Can Play campaign, they encouraged each fundraiser to upload a photo of themselves as a kid. And it just was a really fun way and a small thing that made people really happy and gave them a greater sense of personalized investment in the campaign. All right, so now that you have these fundraisers recruited, what can you do to further equip your fundraisers to succeed? So Together We Give is this campaign run every year by the Faith in Action National Network. So what they do is they have this really great toolkit that they provide to each person that signs up to fundraise on their behalf. And this gives them everything that they could possibly need in order to succeed so that they're equipped with all of the information they need. So it goes into everything from describing what their role as a fundraiser and what they're expected to do, just how to even create their page, building their list. So it really is very detailed, but a few of the highlights that I would say is they do a webinar that teaches their fundraisers how to fundraise. A lot of fundraisers that sign up, they want to have an impact, but they don't necessarily know how to fundraise. So giving them resources like a webinar is a great opportunity to teach them. Same thing goes with maybe having a sample communications calendar and some sample emails for them to copy and paste and send out, sample social media posts that they can copy and paste and send out, giving them all the tools they could possibly need when it comes to promoting their personal page to their community. So yeah, it's a few best practices, just having a communications calendar, how often they should be promoting their page. A lot of people don't know exactly how often they should be sending that out to their community. Having some pre-written social media posts, email templates, and then, potentially consider like a training webinar. All right, we're coming down to last couple here. So when you're dealing with personal fundraisers, they're investing a lot in your mission. And so you want to make sure that you're investing in them too when it comes to building them up and supporting them throughout the whole process. So Jessica Pulano from Baycat said, remembering that your peer-to-peer fundraisers have different levels of comfort and asking for money to help them get over the hump. So what I would recommend doing, or actually before I go into all that, I also wanted to share this from Jason Sissel. He said, be outwardly helpful without being overwhelming. Inform your fundraisers about your cause, your programs, your impact, and so on in simple, easy to understand ways. So ways that you can encourage your peer-to-peer fundraisers and continually support them throughout their fundraising process is to, you want to pay attention to everybody. And of course, you want to celebrate everyone, which we'll get into in a minute. But pay special attention to the ones that are not doing very well. So someone signs up, maybe they haven't started fundraising, or maybe they've only fundraised a little bit. That could be really showing them that they might need some more help. Maybe it's on the technical side, or maybe it's on they don't know who to reach out to, or they don't know, or they don't have Facebook, so they don't know how to promote their page. So reach out to them, see what's up, and provide them the tools that they need to kind of work through that. And then same thing with the ones who are doing very well. So those are great people to reach out to, congratulate them, say they're doing a good job, so that helps them feel seen and noticed and appreciated. But then also maybe get some insights into what they're doing that maybe some of the other fundraisers aren't doing, and then you can share those insights back with them. One thing is to consider weekly emails. I believe Faith in Action does this where they send out that toolkit, but it's really massive and kind of overwhelming at times. You don't have to make your toolkit that massive. But to keep kind of contact going and keep the conversation going, they just do weekly emails, and they're like, if you do one thing this week, just share your page on Facebook. So I'll just give them a really quick call to action every week to kind of keep them going, and also share impacts going on in the wider campaign. And then another great tip from Nancy Ramos from the Girl Scouts of Northern Illinois is that she connects fundraisers to each other. She has a Facebook group so that each fundraiser can be inspired by each other and what they're doing. Some people get ideas basically just by learning what other fundraisers out there are doing. So that's a great way to kind of engage them. I didn't know where to put this, so I put this here. Bonus tip, try getting a match for your peer-to-peer campaign. Donors give 50% more when a match is in place. And so one of the biggest things with a lot of the very successful peer-to-peer campaigns is that they had a match, and that encourages both donors to give more. They typically give about 50% more. So if they were going to give $50, then they're probably going to give $75. And it also makes fundraisers feel like they're creating double the impact. So huge way to drive donations. If you're spinning up a peer-to-peer campaign, you don't have time to apply to big grants for these matching gifts. A good place to start is asking your board, maybe follow up with a major donor and ask them to match, or for any major donors that you already have gifts pledged from, ask them if you can reposition their gift as a match, because that could be a really great way to basically just amplify your fundraising so that you raise more and like drive more urgency for your campaign. It's also kind of good if you introduce a match in the middle of a campaign. Campaigns sometimes tend to stall out in the middle a little bit, where fundraisers don't have that excitement of just starting or that excitement of coming to the end. Matching gift in the middle of the campaign can drive up that excitement and urgency. Also engaging a partner, so maybe a corporate partner that you can ask to do a match with. And so that's what Skid Row Housing Trust did with Banner Bank. They got this $10,000 matching gift and then leveraged that to raise more for their peer-to-peer campaign. All right, peer-to-peer tactic number 10, celebrate everything. Every campaign isn't going to be a wild success. Every fundraiser isn't going to hit their goal, and every person sharing your campaign isn't always going to get the messaging quite right. But you have to be ready to celebrate everything. So a couple organizations that do this really well is Migos International. They share a lot of success stories and celebrate a lot of their fundraisers on social media. So they kind of do a lot of shout outs and really encourage them that way. And Junior Achievement of Washington, D.C. also does this. They have their partners. They actually have a big group of partners with their bulletins, and they have a leaderboard on their website, and they have these banners for, you know, fundraisers that are doing exceptional. And so I think this really shows that any kind of recognition that you give them is really important. It builds that relationship and lets the fundraiser know that your organization sees them as important. So doing shout outs on social media is a great way to celebrate your peer-to-peer fundraisers. Continually communicating the impacts of both the whole campaign, so how much the campaign has achieved so far, and celebrating them as being a part of that, as well as, of course, their progress towards their own personal goals. And I think it's a huge deal to whether someone's doing this for the first time and maybe they don't meet their goal, or maybe they do, but either way, just really thanking every fundraiser goes a long, long way to get them to come back next time. So your fundraisers, Jason Sissel said this, so he said, your fundraisers are a valuable extension of your brand and your development. So treat them well. and not like a fundraising commodity. People join your cause because they want to make a positive difference for your programs, prove the difference they are making, and show them how grateful you are for their efforts. Happy, delighted fundraisers will promote you to others and stay involved. So all of this comes back to that handy dandy digital fundraising cycle where you want to continually attract, nurture, and convert more donors and peer-to-peer fundraisers for your organization. And so the goal is to retain fundraisers for the long run. So you want your fundraisers to stick around. So if you make their first experience a delight, you help them succeed, you're probably going to get them back next time. And one of the best ways to retain donors that come through peer-to-peer campaigns is to retain the fundraisers. So that's something that you want to really keep in mind when it comes to peer-to-peer fundraising. So tons of peer-to-peer fundraising tactics that we went over. Here's the quick summary. We'll send out the PDF of the slides so that you can review this on your own. And I'd like to take the last 5 minutes to just open it up to any questions. So feel free to send those in the questions or the chat pane.
Great. Thank you so much. How have you kind of seen peer-to-peer fundraising change over time? What do you think, Candace? Like, what's been the biggest change?
That's a great question. I mean, I think peer-to-peer on some level always stays the same.
Yeah.
So even from when people were doing it offline to online, like people are always like advocating you by word of mouth in either case. So there's a lot of things that carry over from offline to digital and over the years as fundraising itself has changed. It just kind of looks a little different now, but I also see there's a big trend. I think peer-to-peer fundraising, I should put this in there. I think it's 17% up from previous years. So I think it's a growing trend, especially right now. And I see it being incorporated into more creative kinds of campaigns where before I think a lot of people were really stuck in like, we have to do a walk and that's how peer-to-peer looks. Like I think it's expanding into a lot of different kinds of campaigns, especially like birthday campaigns and that. Like, so that's still something that's emerging at the moment.
That's great. Can you put up your 10-point slide again? I just need to go back in time a little bit.
Let me do that. I know it's a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I think those, I think pushing past, walks, runs, those sort of things are really great uses for peer-to-peer. We did a bake-a-thon once around, we always did our peer fundraising campaigns at the end of the year with one of our clients. And so, they had a bake sale. And so everybody, parents would be able to, create a virtual fundraiser and raised money like that, that instead of selling real donuts, they sold, dollar donuts and that sort of thing. So I thought that was a really cute way of using peer-to-peer, because really it's about the transactions, right? And it's about engaging your audience to fundraise on your behalf. So it doesn't have to be, it can be anything, right? I mean, it could be something really novel or, so it's about really kind of creating that platform for people to be able to give to your organization.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, last call. Any questions?
Any more questions? Well, if you're interested in a platform, feel free to check out CauseVox to help you run your peer-to-peer fundraising. Right now, we have our basic plan completely free. You can raise unlimited funds for free on our platform, which is new. We just introduced this. You can have no transaction fees, no monthly fees, and launch your peer-to-peer campaign. Feel free to, reach out to us if you're interested in getting a demo or getting started. And that's pretty much some next steps for you.
We have some good last-minute questions if you still want to entertain questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ooh, okay. Jeanette asks, what's the wisdom of pressuring or not pressuring your board to do peer-to-peer? I think that's a really great question, because it's an interesting tool for board members who are a little antsy about asking that this could be a really cool tool for them. So what's your advice and wisdom on pressuring or not pressuring your board?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little pressure on your board never hurts. Sometimes they kind of need a little urging to try something new. And a lot of boards end up doing pretty good. That's to say, some board members are probably going to be a little bit quicker on the uptake than others. And so I would encourage you to get as many people on your board to do peer-to-peer as possible, as just kind of even part of what you expect for them year over year, like kind of start building it into the package. But yeah, I mean, for board members that maybe they're older, you might want to set up their page for them and then be like, here it is, just send it out. And that can help some people get activated and make it easier for them. Or some board members are you just know that they're never going to do it. And so I would look for other ways that you can plug them in. So like asking them to be part of some sort of matching gift, or maybe they can kick off the campaign with the first donation or something like that, where they're still involved but not necessarily doing the peer-to-peer fundraising.
Well, great. Thank you so much for that. We're going to have to end this session right now, but will you take questions from folks via email?
Yes, of course. So if anyone wants to reach out, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, great.
And organizers and panelists. So feel free to reach out to us at support@causevox.com. It's probably the easiest one to remember. And then we'd love to hear from you. And yeah, we'll send out an email with the PDF of the slides. And I do have an upcoming webinar in case anyone's interested on digital fundraising during the coronavirus pandemic. So if you're interested, we'll send more information about that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Dawn. Thanks, you too. Bye. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.